Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call our board meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April the 12th, 2016. Looks like we're about 7:05-ish? 7:05 p.m. Our first item, I'd ask everyone to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Ms. Sherby. Would you please call the roll?
Trustee Celestino?
Present.
Trustee Campagno?
Present.
Trustee Perry?
Present.
Trustee Rita?
Present.
Trustee Stecker is absent. Trustee Yorkman?
Present.
President Booth?
Present, we do have a quorum, and thank you all for attending. Under presentations, apparently we have a proclamation recognizing National Safe Boating Week in the village of Westchester. I would imagine this is because in 2010 we had 20 boats in front of our village hall and even an airboat from Florida. So anyway, I don't know where it came from, but here it goes. Whereas on the average 700 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the United States, approximately 7 of these fatalities are caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error and poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors, and whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. And whereas today's life jackets are more comfortable, more attractive, and more wearable than styles of years past, and deserve a fresh look by today's boating public. Now, therefore, the village of Westchester, Cook County, Illinois, hereby supports the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign and proclaims May 27th through the 27th, 2016 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating. So, in witness thereof, the village of Westchester urges all those who boat to wear it and practice safe boating habits. Proclaimed today, the 12th day of April 2016, by me and the entire Board of Trustees. So, thank you for that. Public hearing, do we have anything?
We do not.
Consent agenda, I understand that we need to eliminate number 3 under minutes of March 22nd, the exec, as we didn't have any. Anyone need anything pulled? Tommy?
The record of bills, please.
Pulling record of bills under A. Anything else? We got minutes of March 22nd, 16 of the board.
Sorry.
Also committee of the whole, also March 22nd. And of our special budget meeting on March 29th, 2016. Community development reports, police, fire, public works. Ordinance amending Chapter 5.36 entitled Liquor Sale of Title 5, entitled Business License and Regulations of the Westchester Municipal Code. And for those, that's these. We are eliminating these from sale. I'm tired of picking them up. We are not eliminating these, just to give you a comparison. There's a little bit in there left, Frankie, if you want a little swig.
It's not my brand, but thank you.
So that's under D there. I think we're pulling that change order, correct? Item E? Oh, the different one? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. A resolution approving and ratifying change order number 2 to a contract between the village and K5 Construction Corporation for services related to the 2015 street improvement program in the amount of $256,507.43 to the good.
That's a reduction, yes.
Reduction, that's to our benefit. Item F, a resolution reappointing Bill Ernst to Fire Pension Board, Stephanie Peterson, the Citizen Advisory Board, and a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional engineering service agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering Limited related to obtaining and maintaining compliance with the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 regulations for the amount of $24,600. Okay. other than item A, which we've pulled, and the minutes, is there a motion and a second to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Celeste, Frank, anything else to discuss on any of those? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Celestino.
Yes. Aye.
Trustee Calcagno.
Aye.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Aye.
Excuse me. President Puglia.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Item A, is there a motion and approval to approve the record of bills ending 4/7/16 in the amount not to exceed $900,647.47?
So moved.
Second.
Tom?
I'm sorry,
Tom did. Second, who was the second? Carl. Okay, it's on the table, discussion. Tom, you asked it to be pulled.
I
so-
just want to pull the bill for the Park District and vote on that separately. I really have no other issue.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said I want to pull the bill for the Park District and vote on that separately.
okay, let's find that one. Let's see, Westchester.
It was like for $8,000, I believe, or something like
Westchester
that.
Park District, it's on page 16. Let's see, $8,406.14.
So you have a motion to divide the question then and consider that separately,
Separately,
is that
yes,
correct?
that's
Yes.
correct.
You need a second on that to divide the question.
Okay. All right, there's a motion, a second to place it on the floor. Is there a motion, a second to
Divide the
bifurcate?
question. Yes.
Motion.
Celeste, second.
I'll second.
Frank,
Okay, so
okay.
you can consider the, why don't you just consider the smaller one first, the Park District bill.
All right. Is there a motion in a second to approve the Westchester Park District expenditure for special events for 2015 in the amount of $2,798.47, and also for the special event setup of 2014 of $5,607.67, for a grand total of $8,406.14.
Motion.
Motion by Celeste, second. Angelo?
Yes.
Roll call on that, please.
Trustee Calcagno.
Aye.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Abstain.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
President Puglia.
Aye. Motion carries.
And the main motion would be on the table. Moving.
Okay, is there a
and
motion,
second.
well, we have a motion, a second to
We already did
approve
the motion.
already?
Yes.
correct? Okay. So there's a motion, a second to approve the record of bills. Do you want the total? We have to subtract the 8,000 out of it?
If you have that number there, to be helpful, yes.
Okay, if I did the calculations right, there's a motion on the floor and a second to approve $892,241.33, if my calculator is correct. And that would be the record of bills with the exception of the 8,000 and whatever from the Park District. Motion is second on the floor. Any other commentary? If not, Sherby, please, the roll.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Aye.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
Trustee Calcagno.
Aye.
President Puglia.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, I think we've got everything. Active agenda, anything?
Nothing this evening.
Janet, anything on the manager's report?
I'm going to defer to the mayor. We spent a few days down in Springfield last week for a legislative trip, so a very productive trip, and I'll let him explain. That's all I have.
For those that were unable to attend, myself and Carl and Janet did, like Janet indicated, we attended with mayors from the West Central Municipal Conference. As far as they were concerned, we had a luncheon meeting with Director Schilderstrom from the Tollway. He brought us up to date on what the Tollway is planning on doing with some of the managed lanes and also the construction timeline for out in our neck of the woods from Balmoral Avenue in Franklin, or in Rosemont, all the way down to 95th Street. The thought was to reconstruct that roadway. It's way overdue. Some of the thoughts were adding another lane, which he is in favor of, which they're still discussing at this point in time. There's going to be another exit already planned for the city of Northlake to get off at 294 there and to go eastbound instead of going into Elmhurst, whipping around and coming back the other way. I know in our conversations with the tollway, we asked for them to consider another exit to go south from Cermak Road. I don't know how far fast that's going to go, but our main concern was the amount of water that comes off 294 that enters into the village of Hillside and Westchester and ultimately into both of our storm sewer systems and overloads the system. So they are certainly well aware of that fact. They're certainly engineering in that regard with our wishes. We were lucky enough to have an audience with Governor Rauner, myself, Janet Carl, the WCMC president, Chris Getty, and the incoming president from Western Springs, Bill Rodiger, and our executive director, Rich Pellegrino. We had about 20 minutes with the governor. It was a busy day down there. A number of lobbying efforts were going on around us, but the governor did make time for us, and we asked him what we can do to get the state moving again, that we were pretty much tired of the gridlock. He's still looking for some movement on the other side of the aisle. However, he seemed more conciliatory in my estimation, to be quite honest with you. And he indicated that he did want to work with the legislature. One of the issues he highlighted for probably a good majority of the time was the workers' comp reform and how businesses are being chased out of Illinois as a result of the workers' comp claims and the premiums, et cetera, that businesses have to pay. So that was kind of the focus of that. But all in all, I mean, getting in to see the governor when there was several hundred people there trying to get in, for him to allow the WCMC to get in there, we're honored in such a regard. We also were able to see a couple of Democratic senators and also some Republican ones as well. I mean, Jimmy Durkin's always been a friend of Westchester. We saw him for a brief moment. And all in all, the conversations were on our end trying to break the stalemate. The Illinois Municipal League, Brad Cole, the executive director of that, also spoke at our conference. And certainly the main focus was to try to break the gridlock, get some of the grants paid, get some of our bills paid before the state ends up being in a position that no matter where they go right now or whatever they raise taxes on, that's not going to be enough because we're closing in on a $10 billion bills of unpaid bills. So I can't say that I twisted Governor Rauner's arm and we got things moving, but at least we had an opportunity to be heard. And I think that's a positive, other than sending an email that goes to a staffer. We were able to sit face to face, pretty much right next to him. So I think all in all, I think we've done a good job with that. Attorney, or Janet, anything else? If not,
Nothing this evening.
Michael, anything?
Nothing
sir?
for open session, thank you.
Board members, Frankie, you have EDC this week?
Economic Development is still working on our Pride in 7 campaign. It's the 7 areas of Westchester we're trying to promote business-wise. And we continue to work along with the Chamber of Commerce, trying to join forces with them at the same time. So everything's going.
Great. Celestine, anything?
Nothing this
In
evening,
order.
thank you.
Carl, anything, sir?
Yes, sir. Two things. One, a reminder that this weekend, this Saturday, we'll be having our first electronic recycling event. It'll be held by the Water Tower off of Enterprise Drive between 9 a.m. and 11:30. Looks like the weather's going to be decent. And the only thing is there will be no paper shredding this month. It'll be the following month. And anybody that would like to volunteer, it is greatly appreciated. It makes the day go by very fast with the more people we have. And for those with teenage boys and girls, there's always the possibility of snagging a used or barely used Xbox or Frank and I and Tom, ColecoVision,
That's right, yeah.
Atari 2600, one of those. You never know what you might find. That's one. The second thing I would also like to thank Janet in regards to our trip down to Springfield for helping to set up a number of meetings with the several legislators to express the village's views regarding pending legislation of this year's General Assembly and how it will affect our municipality. And by setting up these meetings, it really made this trip a success. When we went down there, it was lobby day for a number of groups, and everybody was trying to get in to talk to Representative so-and-so and Senator so-and-so, and if you didn't have an appointment, you didn't get in. And luckily, oh, you're here? Senator, we'll see you now. Like I said, it made it a very successful trip, and our views were, like I said, expressed to them, and I think in the long run that'll help us out. Thank you.
Carl, I just wanted to piggyback on the recycling, say that this particular event is going to be co-sponsored with the West Central Solid Waste Agency. So it will be open to multiple communities, so if you do come, be patient, there may be a line.
And be there by 11:30.
Or you're keeping your TV.
You're keeping it for another month. Because we lock the doors at 11:30.
Angelo, anything?
No, I think today I was going to actually piggyback on that and just remind everybody that too, that since it is a combined effort, the more volunteers, the better. And I would say that it's probably going to be packed, so 11:30 is going to be a cutoff. We're going to try to be getting all that stuff packed up and shipped out of there.
And we're starting at 9?
Yes,
Until
sir.
9 till 11:30. Great. Tommy, anything from the cab?
CAB is doing their annual Get Out and Play Day, June 4th, from 10 to 2 at St. Joe's again.
Take a sip.
So that's about it.
Thank you. Chief, anything?
Hello. There we go. Yes, real quick, the reminder to everybody, next month we have our open house at the police department, which is May 21st. As far as the police department goes, things are going very well, getting very acclimated each week that I'm here. I have a staff meeting next on the 21st with my first staff meeting with my supervisors, where I'll be making a few changes and laying out some expectations from everybody. And also like to recognize Officer Motto, who today has been here 17 years, and I'll be sticking around for the midnight shift to acknowledge him for his time here at the Westchester.
Thank you, Chief. Shawnee.
Excuse me, I'm here for Chief Adams. The chief is down in Springfield for the Fire Service Legislative Day that's going on tomorrow. On his agenda, he will be meeting with Representative Welsh and Senator Lightford to discuss current fire legislation going on in Springfield. The chief also continues to work on the IRMA Workers' Comp Focus Program, a program that focuses on reducing future workers' comp claims. This past Thursday, April 7th, we had 11 visitors and 2 facilitators from the Aspire Day program. They came by the firehouse for a special tour. The tour was led by firefighter Eric Biskup and our own part-time employee, Ben Edelman. Ben is also a client of the Aspire Day program. He works at the fire department on Wednesday mornings, and he was very proud and energetic, the fire showing off the equipment at his fire department.
Thank you, Sean. Maureen?
I just wanted to remind residents that vehicle stickers are on sale, and April 30th will be the last day to purchase to be on time. We will be holding a special Saturday sale from 8:30 a.m. till noon on that Saturday, April 30th. If you do not purchase your sticker by April 30th, the fee is double at that point. That's all I have.
Gregory?
Yes, as I mentioned almost at every meeting regarding our drug collection date is April 30th officially. The DEA is continuing that program, and we, of course, are participating as well. Received the information and the approval from the DEA to continue participating. In regards to the summer event schedule, I'll be handing out tomorrow. Just need to verify one other thing. After I had printed this, I was holding back on one piece of information here that needs to be corrected or at least verified before we do any posting. But I put together a summer event schedule that everybody will receive so they can keep track of dates of other events going on. I'll be adding the Get Out and Play date to this as well, as long as that's okay with Trustee Yurkovich. And that way, get that information out to people a little bit sooner than we've done in the past, just so that since we have the solidified dates set in stone. Also, it's going to be an agenda item most likely for next meeting. The fire chief, Deputy Chief O'Hagan, myself met with NORCOM a couple days ago, it was last week, Wednesday, with regards to the Combined Emergency Telephone System Board. We also met with the police chief, or police director of police for Franklin Park, as well as the fire chief for Franklin Park. Melrose Park didn't show up, but the discussion there is well, I'm sorry, let me also add the commander of Bellwood was in attendance, as well as the fire chief of Bellwood. In that discussion, we were coming to what we think is a conclusion that would have to be voted on by the board here, as well as the respective boards that I just described, to create a consolidated emergency telephone system board with those entities. We would dissolve the current board, and as I'd mentioned in the past, the date that the state is looking for us to have paperwork filed by is July 1st. So, to my knowledge, Attorney Durkin is going to be contacted by the attorney from Franklin Park, if he hasn't already, to sort of describe or discuss how we're going to put together an intergovernmental agreement between the three communities at this point. Intergovernmental agreement that the three of us would be working towards a combined emergency telephone system board. And we've done further discussion, as I had mentioned in the past. We will be able to retain our funds in a way that Westchester could spend it in Westchester's way. The term that I had used previously was paper ETSB. Apparently, my understanding of that was a little different, and it was described to me differently when we first began this process. But the thought is that we can still come up with an agreement between the communities to spend our money in the way this town would like to spend that money. So I'll bring that to the board in the near future. Just wanted to let you know that we are in the process of working with that. And after the attorneys speak, I believe that's when the board will need to determine how we would like to proceed. It's not a decision of the attorney or myself. It would be the board that would decide if the towns that are being proposed would be appropriate. Okay. That's all I have for today.
Thank you. Robert?
Since the last board meeting, we've prepared bids for the tree maintenance contract. The board wanted that bid again. Our bid openings for the tree maintenance is April 20th, and that will come to the board meeting on the 26th. We also have bids for an HVAC maintenance contract. Those bids will be opened April 28th. Should be at the first Tuesday board meeting, May 10th. Last week, we installed our new magnetic meter at Crestwood, 20-inch diameter meter, and we have yet to get it fully operational, but it's in, and water's flowing again. And then just as a milestone, 6 months ago, we put in a new water meter in this building. The building hadn't been metered in quite some time. With the new LMO ordinance we have by use of Lake Michigan water, we are required to meter our water that we use. If not, it counts as a leak. So by putting a meter in, we've measured in 6 months about 100,000 gallons just for this facility alone. That's about 0.5% that was being counted as a leak. Now that we can meter it, we can take that off the leak register. So we'll continue to be proactive with our water use and trying to move water from unaccounted for to accounted for, at least metered if not billed as well. Got a number of valves that we identified that need to be repacked. They have slow leaks in them, and we'll continue to aggressively button up our water system as we go through the summer. That's all I have.
Earlier today, I sent an email to Carl, and I'm not sure if I included you. When I was working around the outside of Crestwood in the weeds there yesterday, I noticed 2 of the seams had dripping water off the seams that had a collective puddle that I noticed last year and this year seemed to be a little bit more exacerbated. Did they report back to you?
The reservoir?
Yeah, the tank. Did they give you an indication of I don't know, it could be rainwater off the top of it. I'm not sure. I've never been up at the top of it. I did see some cracks in the concrete, and I saw some rebar through at least one of the seams. Every couple feet there was a rebar sticking out of it, the one that was leaking more than the other. But there are 2 indentations in the concrete, which are formed indentations on the west side that had water dripping off into a pool on the ground, and all the ground surrounding it was a marsh. So I just want to make sure that the tank doesn't blow. As Lake Crestwood will be out there. So did they get back to you today?
No,
nobody's
they're looking
sent
at
me a
it.
follow-up
We
today.
had done a structural analysis about 5 years ago. That's in the file system that I've read through. That was, of course, before I got here, but I'm trying to read up on what's in the file, what we need to do. If we need to do another structural assessment, I mean, those are the kinds of things we look for that we need to take a look at. Those types of repairs can be made. We need to catch them in time, and that's the kind of activity we need to walk around. Typically what we do is we would test for residual chlorine, and that would identify whether that's rainwater just leaking through or that's water inside the reservoir. So that's the first test I want to have done, and then we'll see if there's a structural element we need to repair or not. We do have money both in the reserve fund if needed to make those kind of repairs if we have to do them quickly, which is why it's important to keep that reserve fund up for repairs just like that. If it looks like something that can wait, and we'll have someone look at it, we'll budget for next year to do more significant repairs.
No, just take a lead. I just didn't want it to crack.
Well, that
So-
tank is 30, 40 years old, and it does have cracks in it. Some have been repaired, and some are still have fissures. It's normal for a tank that age to have some cracks in it, but we do monitor, and they do a check every year. So we can do more aggressive checking if need be.
No, just tomorrow make sure. I know Vince wasn't working today, so take a walk around yourself.
Absolutely.
And see what's what. Melissa.
Good evening. Just so that everybody knows, at Westbrook Corporate Center, Ingredion is going to start doing some renovations to their space. Someone just, probably the general contractor for that job, just reached out to me last week. They're going to be renovating 5 floors at the corporate center. So they should probably be starting their construction there in July or August. So they'll be coming through the permitting process probably in the near future. Also, the Zoning Code Steering Committee is meeting tomorrow. We're going to start going through our first draft of the new code, so we can start gathering feedback and making changes, getting a feel for the committee's ideas on the draft. And also, last month we had 4 businesses that opened. We issued 187 permits, completed 180 inspections, and that was about $2.6 million in construction value. That's it.
Any questions for Melissa? If not, Ms. Sherby, anything this evening, young lady? Nothing? I just have a couple of items. In addition to going to Springfield, as mentioned at the meeting that St. Joe's had here, as an information regarding the affordable housing units that they were looking at doing some senior housing. Janet and I did drive down to Granite City. We did stop at the facility that was identified by Michaels as a senior center facility. At that facility, they have more than just a senior building. They have other buildings for non-senior use. The whole complex is an affordable rental unit or apartment complex, so to speak. We drove around all of the grounds and found them very acceptable as far as garbage and junk cars or anything like that. We didn't see anything of that nature. We did go to the police department as we caught the manager agent while she was leaving for lunch. We did speak to some of the clerks at the police station, and Janet did file a FOIA to find out if there were any issues surrounding that place that would be of note or be of interest to ourselves and or the residents of Westchester regarding a similar project. Upon our return, we did have conversation with the management personnel. She lives on site. She's been there since it opened 24 years ago, and she took us anywhere we wanted to go and showed us anything that we wanted to see. I did take a number of pictures, which I will certainly share with everyone. While we were there, we did get to go look at a rental unit, and all the units for the senior housing are singles, I believe, except for one, which was designed for the manager, on-site manager, to live in. I'm not certain if this young lady lives in that one or not. However, we did see an empty one that was being rented, and probably in a couple days. While we were there, a code enforcement inspector from the village of Granite City did come on site. It wasn't planned by us, but it was planned by them to do an inspection of that so it could be re-rented out. We did have a conversation with him about the property. There were no negative comments regarding it at all. Adjacent to this complex was a condo development. It was like a building or so. And on the other side, there was another rental. But on the Michaels property, which, again, I'll show you the pictures, it was very positive, very clean. Generator, service areas, common areas, cameras, bathrooms that we saw, pull change for in the bathroom and also in the bedrooms. It was very clean and very nice for all the units that we saw. So it was a positive thing all around. We spent a good hour there, and I took all the documents that they had that they gave. I took some pictures of some documents that were on the wall, and I'm in the process of getting those to Greg off my phone, and he can share them whenever you'd like to see them.
Yeah. And the property is across the street from a major park where they host all the baseball leagues there, so it's well integrated into the community as well.
And it was kitty corner from an existing grammar school as well. So, anyway, just some information. I said I would go and take a look and see. I believe that that's one of the only senior facilities, although I was expecting a senior total complex. This was a senior building surrounded by other rental properties.
Right, and
So-
this unit had, I believe, 61 apartment units in it, and the proposal for the St. Joe property is 73 units, so comparable number of units.
Yeah, and anyway, just,
Did they tell you the amount of apartments that were subsidized?
all of
They're
it,
fully
All of it?
subsidized.
everything is
Okay.
subsidized. Every building, whether it be the senior building and/or the, and we saw a little, in fact, when we pulled in, we went by the garbage cans and tried to take a look to see if they were being kept, and we saw a playground set in the back, and I'm like, Janet, are we in the right spot? And there was a building back there, and adjacent to that was a fenced area where there was a playground set, and then later in the day, when children were getting out of school, we did see some children walking to that location as well. So, anyway, I do have some pictures of the grounds and that, for everyone to take a peek at. Other than that, let's see, there was an email today regarding our facade program, and if there's no reservations, I believe that our facade program should be available to all businesses. My ignorance, I was unaware that it apparently was for the main drags and that.
Don't apologize. It's my committee, my grant, and I didn't know that
Yeah, well,
either.
that
So
doesn't make it, but, I mean, I think the thrust is that, and I don't know if anybody knew that it was either a main drag or not a main drag, but I think that all businesses should be able to apply. And if we have the wherewithal and the monies to support these things, that everybody's on equal footing, and that we should go forward with that. So, again, my ignorance of what was out there, what wasn't out there for whatever reason, but I think everyone should have a shot at it. So if anyone has a contrary view, I'd like to hear it. If not, we'll just let Melissa go forward with the application process for
Commercial
businesses.
properties, right?
Commercial, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just, if I have a business in my home.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Oh, commercial property, yeah, okay. Yeah, and non-home facades. This is for the business, the zoning of the business, but thank you for clarifying that, because I'm sure the way things are, we would be tested. So,
Sure.
anyone have an issue with that or an additional comment?
I wasn't aware either. I guess I
Anything?
didn't
I didn't know there was a.
realize
Okay.
that.
Mike, can we move that to after the agenda, revision to the policy? Or move it to the cow?
Move it to the cow, and then we'll bring it back for a business meeting.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have, unless there's something else. We've moved public comments and questions to the end. And that being said, if there's a comment regarding the questions of the active agenda or general matters, please step up to the microphone and make sure you introduce yourself for our clerk and our welcome court reporter this evening. Good evening, young lady. How are you today? My mother taught me well. How can we help you?
My name is Mary Ann Watson. I live in the 1800 block of Manheim Road, and I'm very concerned about the alley. It's full of potholes and water stands. It's unsightly and it's dangerous. And I'm here tonight on behalf of several neighbors who could not come. They sent me to ask what steps do we need to take in order to do something about the alley.
You know, that's a $64 question that I wish I had the answer to. I know we have a little alley committee operational. We do have some discussion items that the board is in the process of discussing. There are, let's start it from the top. There's no way that without resident participation that the alleys can be paved financially, number one. There are a couple of models out there from other municipalities that we've been looking at as far as participation. The board is in the presence of mind that if and when we do an alley, that there should be drainage in it. So we can drain whatever standing water into either one side or the other, however. Our Public Works Director gave us, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, you gave us a schematic of about how much money a normal alley would run with the engineering and the paving, and that number is?
$120,000 for a normal block.
A normal block.
Well, half of that block is already paved. Half of the alley is paved. It's the northern half is paved. The southern half is not. And that's the end I live on.
Okay, so you're living between Canterbury and Oxford. Is that?
Yes, I'm between Oxford and Kent.
Between Oxford and Kent.
Yes, 1821. George's Auto.
Okay, so you're on the other side of the street, okay.
Yes.
Because we have an alley on the other side between Oxford and Canterbury that we are constantly in.
She's on the east side of Manhattan.
Yeah, she's on the east side, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
I'm thinking you were on the west side. This said 1800. Well, you know what? We can certainly look at the numbers. If half of it got paved already, obviously it would be less money than that. We just had a range of a normal alley, which would be, say, from Canterbury to Oxford, would be that much expense. We could certainly look at that. The board's going to have to determine how much money we have to throw at it, what percent will be our contribution, what percent would be your contribution, and if we would have to set up some type of special service area, which would mean there would be a charge to your tax bill for X number of years to pay that debt off. Okay. So that's kind of where we're at. So we've talked about it at a prior meeting. Robert has given us some information on other plans. So I'm going to ask that we review that information and see where we are at our next meeting and see if we could come up with some kind of resolution for not only this particular half alley, but if others are so inclined, to get in the game, that we know what our exposure will be. The only thing I would suggest is, Robert knows where your alley is. You're east of Manheim now. And generally, we go out and regrade those as much as we can.
Yes, you do.
The difficulty is, in your case, the refuge trucks drive through there and they stop and they drag it, and the holes never seem to stay filled once we fill them. So it is historically an issue. I'm not sure how your topography is, but I know in other alleys and different areas of the village, you have one garage that's higher than the other, one lower than the other, that is going to be a topography, I'm going to say nightmare, but a difficulty where we don't want to fill up somebody's garage with water, and we certainly don't want someone to have to drive up on a ramp to get in. So that's going to be our charge with those. But as far as I can recall, you are pretty flat.
Yes, we are.
In your alley there.
So, question is,
Yes, ma'am.
what is my report going to be to my neighbors on tomorrow?
Well, we're gonna come and grade it, at least get it leveled at this point in time. Hopefully we can do that this week. Robert has the guys doing some tasks, but they can certainly take a look at it and get that done at this point in time here. And that we will put on our agenda for our next meeting, which will be 26th, I believe, of April, a discussion, and hopefully we could come to some kind of resolution as far as how much dollars we can put into an alley citywide program, and then what we will be doing, requiring a number of persons like yourself who are on the alley to say they want this. I believe Mike indicated in our last prior meeting that we need a 51%.
That's correct.
So we need 51% of all the people that abut the alleys who would partake in that, that they would be wanting this to be done.
Okay.
And then we will have to figure out, depending on how many people come in, how we're gonna pick what alley gets done based on the monies that we have to throw at it. Does that make some sense to you?
Yes, it does, and I'm going to ask each one of them to come to the next meeting and perhaps even call your office. Should we do that? We want you to
Join the club.
remember-
Join the club.
We just want you to remember us. We're concerned about other people, but we're
Right.
more concerned about us right now.
Well, you know what, you're here, and some other people have been here in the past. I mean, what worries me this year more so than maybe other years, and it's always been on my radar, trust me. It's been on the radar of this village for probably 40 years. When I was a patrolman driving through the alleys and had to get a dialysis at the end of the day. I worry about the standing water.
Yes.
I worry about this crazy Zika virus that's out there and has penetrated the United States. And if you follow some of the orations that are out there, is in the southern states, and now it's moving up north, I worry about all that stuff. So in the newsletter, we will be writing about spare tires and collection things, more so than, I guess, just the other mosquitoes that are out there. Even though West Nile, we hit that as well. But, this is something that's very serious based on the information that I've seen in different countries as the effects on children and people who get stung by this crazy thing. So, but it's certainly on our radar, I can tell you that.
Thank you very much for listening, and I trust that you're going to do a great job of getting it taken care of.
I hope so. Next. Anyone else, please? This is there you go. Yes,
I live
ma'am.
on Milford, between Milford and Dickens. Linda Eilertson. And our alley, too, is a mess. And we have standing water all the time, and it's right out my back door. There's only 5 buildings on this alley, 3 apartment buildings and 2 houses. And it doesn't get graded enough. The holes are huge. And my husband had to make a drainage thing into our catch basin. That's how much water is there. It's like a pool.
Well, again, our Public Works Director is here. He'll be, have his staff take a look at it tomorrow, at least to get the grading done, and I think
The
the
grading
one,
used to be better than it is right now.
and the one east of you, I think needs to be graded as well.
To the left of us is done, the alley, and to the right of us is done. We're the
This-
only alley in
You're in the
between.
middle.
Yep.
How did they miss you?
I was told in 2000 that we were next on the list. And I know you've
Oh.
heard that before, too, but,
I was told the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, well, all I could tell you is I have no list. Nobody left me a list. We're pretty
It's
much
going
starting
back a
from
long time.
scratch. It's been a priority of mine.
How did they pick the alleys when they had them paved?
What, honey?
How did they pick the alleys when they had them paved?
I do not have a clue.
Okay.
That was a couple of mayors before me. I honestly don't know. I know there was a petition process similar to what we're following here now. I don't know if they,
That's when we were told we were next on the list with our petition.
oh,
What about blacktop? What about something that wouldn't be as expensive, but it would get the job done?
well, those are the things that we look at, but blacktop, concrete, you know, some of the prices that we've seen are very comparable. Concrete certainly lasts a lot longer than asphalt would last. And again, you know, we're thinking about putting drains in there as well.
Right.
So
Oh,
the
you did
ones
that,
that were
yeah.
done in concrete. And I think that's the preferred method, because we want to do them once, and 50 years later, they're, I mean, the ones that were done back whenever they were done in the 70s or 80s, whenever the monies came in, or even the 90s, 2000, whatever.
2000, the one next to me was.
I mean, they're still looking pretty good,
Right.
and they're all in the ones that were done in concrete. How they selected them,
I just don't think it's fair that everyone pays taxes and some people have nice alleys and other people don't.
Well, all the alleys that were constructed in concrete was a special service. They all ended up ponying up. Back in the day, I know Representative Durkin at the time was able to get a grant from the state that actually paid for some of the engineering. And I don't know if we threw any additional dollars toward that, or was it all resident-based after that? I don't know.
Okay.
15 years ago, I don't know. But we're moving forward with whatever we have. Robert has supplied us with Evanston, I think Brookfield, Elmwood Park, and there was one other town in there that are all in a similar situation as us. And we'll probably be able to pick one of those and see where we go from there.
Okay.
But you got your name, and you filled out a little slip there for our clerk
I've been to
there?
meetings here before and I've never heard back on anything regarding the same issue.
Okay.
I hope to hear from you.
That's where we're at. All right? Anybody else? No? Once, twice? Okay, it appears we have a few issues, executive session. Are we doing all four of these?
I don't believe we have anything for item A.
Okay, that is the personnel one. If there's no personnel ones, we have under B, 5LX122C2, discuss collective negotiation between the public body employees or the representatives, deliberations, salary schedules, and one or more classes of employees. I would imagine that's the firefighter contract. Item C, 5LX122C5, purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. And D, 5LX122C11, litigation when an action affecting, affecting or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court, or when a public body finds that an action is probable or imminent. So those are the exec session items, B, C, and D. Is there a motion to adjourn? We'll handle those after the committee of the
So
whole,
moved.
but adjourn our board meeting. Tommy?
So moved.
Second.
Celeste? Roll call to adjourn.
You just need an acclamation.
All those in favor of adjourning our board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. We stand adjourned.